Maul says at this point, UMG would pay up to $5 billion to keep Drake from walking.
Okay, is there any truth that you're aware of this private equity move now that he's out of his deal allegedly?
I don't know nothing about that.
Okay, because
I know that whatever he end up getting, he gonna shake the world, nigga. I know that. Everything changes.
There was no like reputable source that was putting this out, but
it's never a reputable source if it didn't come from him.
Allegedly, he is now completely done with his UMG obligations. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's true either.
But I can definitely see a bunch of private equity firms, obviously, wanting to invest in the future career of Drake.
UMG is going to do everything in their powers to make Drake happy and not lose him.
That
means if Drake holds up 5 fingers and says that's all he got, that's his negotiation. 5. We know what letter is after the 5. We don't even have to talk about that. Just hold up 5 fingers. And I think Universal says done.
You think Universal would give an artist $5 billion?
I think they will give Drake $5 billion.
$5 billion.
I think they will give Drake $5 billion. Because if they'll give you 2 or 3, what's the difference?
2 or 3.
It's a lot of.
No, it's not. At that level, no, it's not. You give me $3 billion, you can give me $5 billion.
I don't know how.
You think they don't have it? You think they're like, that's a little stretch?
No. Universal.
How much money do you think Drake has generated for fucking UMG over the years?
Over $5 billion.
Exactly. So what are we talking about? We sitting here acting like what I'm saying is crazy.
I know.
Yo, listen. I thought that when they had this Netflix deal announced that Rory and Maul went over to Netflix with The Breakfast Club and all these other podcasts from the iHeartRadio, we wouldn't get bombarded with these nonsense takes about Drake, this, that, and the third. But they slowly keep making their way back to the internet, and the absolute nonsense and airheaded buffoonery of Maul does not go away. It gets worse. And with this release of this record that somehow the other side has deemed as some form of success, even though 50% of it has dropped within the first 24 hours of it coming out, they keep posting on my page all these sites saying that the streams are up and everything's up and the record's up, and I'm not hearing that nowhere else but from the other side, right? These OVO guys, right? But somehow, some way, the nonsense has spilled into the ecosphere, right? The ecosphere, and now Maul is thinking that somehow this guy is worth a cool $5 billion. Right now, he's saying that he could hold up 5 fingers, and UMG would happily pay it because they're allegedly, I guess, the Maris looked up how much UMG is worth, and they're worth $45 billion. So they would surely fork over $5 billion to Drake, or all of a sudden now he's worth $5 billion because he dropped 3 albums. One of them hit, 2 of them flopped, but they're not talking about that. They're just talking about how hot this shit is, right? We just saw the owls go on Twitter and start to beg each other to stay focused so they can push Janice shut the F up, right? That one record that's low-key supposed to be subbing Kendrick. I don't know because I didn't fully listen to it. I just saw 30 seconds of the video, gang, and I don't know what the record is about. But we as a collective have decided that there is no hit record, no banger to speak of on there. They've decided to push the Janice STFU record, and they're in full-on mode. So I think that they feel like they're up some kind of way. And now, instead of the $500 million that allegedly was on the table when Not Like Us dropped and it ruined all his negotiation tactics, there was $400 million on the table from UMG, $500 million on the table from Sony. You got to understand, it changes every time they decide to change it. But at one point, that's what they were saying, that there was a $500 million deal. So the dastardly Lucian Grange decided to use Kendrick Lamar to foil those offers from his competitor, right? Sony Music, that's his competitor, and to foil that $500 million bargaining chip that was in Drake's possession, that was going to make him fork up another $100 million. But guess what? According to Maul, $100 million ain't shit. So they would have easily topped that with a $600 million offer. But instead, they went on ahead and used Kendrick to devalue him. But apparently it didn't work. Now he's worth $5 billion. Gang, he went from $500 million to $5 billion in 24 hours by dropping an album that only did, let's just be honest, it ain't like the shit came out and did $1 million in the first. Gang, you got to understand what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that Iceman album, which is getting horrid scores, horrid reviews, people are on Twitter tearing it down so bad, and UMG is pulling. If you use their music, they're pulling the shit down off of your page. But somehow, some way, Maul has cooked this up in his head, gang. He's made an egg foo young in his head that somehow, some way, Drake now is worth $5 billion and they would happily play it. I'm going to play the clip in a little bit, gang, but I got to warn you, it is a trigger warning. It is maddening to listen to Maul, his logic, where he takes these things, gang. It is based in absolutely nothing. And they admitted that it's all speculation, it's nonsense. But we've seen Maul speculate at this level before and say some of the most ridiculous things. And we've had to sit there and combat the shit in real time. Well, it gets tiring, gang. But somebody got to do it, because if nobody does it, then this stuff becomes a narrative out there on Twitter. And then you go 5 years of them saying he's going to get $5 billion from UMG. Now imagine this. A company that's been around before Drake. It ain't like he invented the company. It ain't like he did the most and made the $45 billion for them. Drake is an artist amongst many artists, gang. So at the end of the day, he's just one person in a massive cog. He's not the only person. He's not the only cog. He is one artist in a massive cog of money that can be made, okay? So that's why he was given a $400 million loan that he allegedly paid back. Now, Maul and Rory want us to believe that there's some equity firms out there willing to invest in him millions upon millions, maybe even billions, because now he supposedly got out of his deal. Well, guess what? I don't know how he's going to get equity firms to invest in him when he still needs a distributor, which he's going to end up signing right back to UMG. I don't know how this is going to work. The guy obviously doesn't want to be independent. And if he goes independent, there ain't no guarantee he's going to make, $5 billion. Maul, don't think about this. The guy is about to hit 40. Okay, the record is tanking like a fucking shark tank. He's going straight down to the bottom, right? He's a hammerhead shark going straight down. At the end of the day, this guy is in no position to bargain for, 10 times more? 10 times more than he would have had if he had signed the deal 2 years ago. Now he's worth 10 times more because he threw out 3 albums that people are calling chopped cheese. All of a sudden, this guy is making it like, yeah, now he's worth 10 times more. It's a diamond now. Okay, we're going to see this album go down in flames badly. The people do not care anymore. They heard the disses. They heard the songs. They've decided that most of this shit is goony goo goo and they are all set. That's why it's tanking. But somehow, some way, Maul has cooked it up in his head, right? He has made a whole narrative that somehow, some way, they're begging this guy. They are in full on contract mode where they're trying to save this guy's contract and get him to sign another one. So they're going to do anything, okay? I don't know if Maul understands, and you got to listen to Damaris trying to, once again, we're here again, Damaris trying to talk some kind of logic into this guy. He doesn't have any type of logic, means nothing to him. He just goes on and on with it. He's built it up in his head that Drake could get $5 billion, so no form of logic is going to work. The poor girl is trying to slowly just creep a little bit of, like, you know how you stuff a pencil into a pencil sharpener? She's trying to stick the knowledge into his ear, but he won't let it in. It's like, end of the day, he's decided that this is real, this is true, and I'm standing on it. No matter how many times he's been wrong, no matter how dumb he sounds when he says these things, he still believes that somehow, some way, that Drake could get $5 billion. And then he goes so far as to say, what's another billion? That's nothing. What's another $2 billion? So he just throws billions around. Imagine this guy was the head of UMG. It would be a disaster. The place would have already closed because he would have gave the guy all the money they had. He would have gave him all the money they had. And just because they say you're worth $45 billion doesn't mean you got a safe with $45 billion that you can just grab 1, 2, 3, 4. Here go $5 billion, Drake. It don't work like that. Okay? It don't work like they can just throw around liquid money like that. It doesn't work. That means you're worth that. It's a whole lot of factors involved with that, but they're just not going to sit around and go and write him a check for $5 billion. But Maul don't know that, and Maul don't care. He's so glazed up. He done built up this Iceman thing for years. It finally came out. I'm sure he's doing all kind of dances in his house, upside down, this, that, and the third, slide under the bed, around the bed, on top of the shower curtain. He's doing all kind of shit. But at the end of the day, that don't make the record good. But to him, he got 3 albums to digest all through summer. This is the greatest day of his life. He gave him exactly what he wanted, more time with Drake, because he get to hear his voice for hours, okay? But that don't mean he's worth $5 billion, and nobody's going to stick $5 billion in his hand. We ain't heard of nobody getting no $5 billion for no reason, okay? We ain't heard of that, never. you're not giving no artist no $5 billion, but Maul doesn't understand that. I'm going to play this clip, right? But let me read this. I pulled up some information. I wanted to ask Google, like, why did he say this? What makes this come to this guy's head to even think that this is possible? And this is what Google said. Maul's assertion that Universal Music Group, aka UMG, would pay Drake a $5 billion deal was a piece of industry speculation made during an episode of the new Rory and Maul podcast. It stems from a discussion about the status of Drake's record deal and its overwhelming value to the music industry. This is the same guy that they said the music industry was shut down if he stopped rapping. Well, the music industry is still going. He hasn't been rapping. Well, he has been rapping, but he hasn't been hitting. Let's say that. He hasn't made no big records. This is the first thing that he's done that's actually done anything, and somehow the music industry still stood on his own. Okay? I don't understand this logic where all of a sudden he's the only thing that can save it. I don't think he's saving it right now with Iceman. I really don't. I think this thing, if it might hit number one for a week, at best 2 tops, I think it's gone. Gang, I'm just gonna be honest. We're gonna see though. But let me get it ain't no $5 billion worth of shit. Okay, let's just be honest. Let me continue. Maul's argument rests on a few core beliefs about Drake's leverage, massive existing deal and value, okay? Drake previously signed a massive multi-$100 million deal with UMG in 2022, widely reported to be around $400 million, right? You got to understand, all of these numbers, none of this stuff is confirmed. That is the key thing. It's all speculation. It's under lock and key. Nothing is confirmed. Now, they're saying that Drake paid it back, but that's his fans saying that. They don't know that because before he did these 3 albums allegedly to get out of the deal, they were saying he was out of the deal. He was renegotiating a new deal because the $400 million got paid back so fast. He had the upper hand, and he was talking to Sony about $500 million, and that's why they used Kendrick. Now, a couple days ago, he surprise dropped 3 albums. They go, oh snap, he dropped 3 albums to get out of his record deal. Learn something, young nigga. This is how you do it. Oh yeah. So which is it? He already paid his $400 million, and he's in negotiation to decide if he's going to go independent, or did he owe him 3 albums yesterday? Okay, they don't understand business. They make up these narratives, and they don't know that when the next narrative comes, it's going to shatter the last one. Okay, what they don't realize is now they're scrambling trying to figure out how to explain that there couldn't have been no negotiations on the table when Kendrick did Not Like Us because he still owed him 3 albums. What negotiations are you talking about? Now you're saying, oh, he dropped 3 albums. It's genius. He dropped 3 albums to get out of his deal. He did a Frank Ocean. So what they don't understand is it can't be both ways. It can't be that he paid the whole deal back, but he owed him 3 albums still. Okay, and I've been saying for years, I said, okay, you're telling me that he paid the $400 million back, then why is he still there? Why is he suing his so-called label if everything is squared away? I said, they don't give you $400 million and want a $400 million check back. You owe them more than that. It's more in that deal that you guys don't know, but you're glazing them anyway. You don't understand the deal. You never saw the deal, so you're just going to make up shit. So what they've been doing is making up shit. Right? So now they just made up the narrative that the 3 albums is, well, we all know that the 3 albums is because he didn't know what to drop. He was still trying to figure out what to drop up until when he dropped it. Okay, so he emptied the hard drive that K-Dot told him to burn. He didn't burn it. He emptied everything onto the damn computer, and they just started sorting it into different folders, and they made 3 albums because they didn't know what to put out on one of them. And they couldn't have that shit flop. Okay, now they did his numbers. It's allegedly he's going to do his numbers, which is what they wanted, but that's not good enough. They dropped 2 more because they didn't want people saying, okay, this ain't enough, or this ain't good enough, or this, that, and the third. If you drop a whole bunch of shit, then you got your fans running around with, look, he got this over here. Well, he got that over there. It's something for everybody, right? So now they can go 6 months and play something for everybody, 40-something tracks. But at the end of the day, we know that he had a plethora of music and couldn't figure out what to put on there. Okay, so he put it all. And he still owed them records, still owes them money, still owes them mad shit. You're not going to sue people that you don't have no... What are we talking about? So let's just play this out. He sued them because they were going to devalue him. They used K-Dot, the Not Like Us record, instead of stopping the record like he expected them to do, like they did when they forced him off of the Pusha T, the Clips record, when Clips had to Pusha T had to pay millions to get him and his brother off Def Jam because they wouldn't let him use that Kendrick Lamar verse because Drake and them got wind of it and they didn't want it on there. Okay, so they forced them to not let that verse come out, and they didn't. So they Pusha T had to make a move, go to another label. He end up signing a distribution deal with Rock Nation, and here we are. They dropped the album. All is good. He bettered himself and he won, right? Now, end of the day, what they're trying to tell us now is that, he was negotiating, and when they dropped Not Like Us and didn't stop it, they knew what they were doing. They were trying to defame him. What are you defaming if he doesn't owe him anything? They started out the year saying he paid his debt back. He was scot-free. He could go independent. So what are we in court for if he's not on any obligation to the label? They don't understand that part, don't care. Doesn't make any sense. Nope, they're trying to defame him, devalue him, so they can renegotiate him for what? What are you renegotiating if he paid everything back? Why are you renegotiating? Oh, Drake won $1 billion. Oh, that's what it was? He wanted $1 billion? So if he can go make them $1 billion, and Rory is bringing up these private equity firms, then why didn't he just go get the private equity firm? Right? You don't need $1 billion to put out an album, okay? He could have just went independent. The shit they say don't make no sense, but they don't care. Why is he renegotiating for $1 billion to owe them another $1 billion, which would mean, gang, you gotta understand, it come with more shit. You don't just hand him back $1 billion. So now you want to get him in a hole for a bit. First, he was in a hole for $400 million. Nigga worked like a slave in a 360 deal, touring and doing all the shit he didn't feel like doing, dropping all these albums. So you want him to do that again, right? He's older. Now you want him to not just make back $400 million, gang, not just slave and make that back. You want him now to owe them $1 billion. The Drake fans don't think this shit through, but I do. You want him to be in debt with UMG for $1 billion in some kind of way. That is a flex to these guys. You got to understand how dumb they sound. Drake trying to get $1 billion out of them. Oh, yeah? What you think happens if you give Lucien Grange $1 billion? You just said he did some snake shit with K-Dot, but you want him to get even worse? You want him to get even more in debt? You guys got to understand the shit you say sounds dumb. So if he can go out and make $1 billion for them, he can make $1 billion for himself. But no, it gets worse. Now Maul comes along and says UMG could give him $5 billion. So guess what that means when they give him $5 billion? He gotta pay it back. Maul don't think. Maul doesn't think. Maul thinks in nigga logic, dumb shit. Oh, you get $5 billion. Oh, so what does that mean now? What does that mean now? When he don't pay back the $5 billion, Lucien Grange coming to take his jet and his fucking house? What are you talking about, Maul? What are we doing here? But they don't think like that. These motherfuckers think in numbers of streams and how much money he was advanced from a label when he's worth $5 billion according to Maul. Maul and them don't put no thought into this, gang. They just say stupid shit. Rory talking about he could get a private equity firm. Gang, he could just put the shit out himself. This nigga's got $500 million his fucking self. Why would he get a private equity firm to invest in him? They don't think, gang, they say stupid shit. You don't need none of that. If you're a Drake, you don't need none of that. He makes enough money with Stake to fund his own project, to do all his promotion, to do all his bots, to do all his marketing. He doesn't need to get no money from no one. That's what he don't understand, and they don't either. He's supposed to be the biggest artist in the world. He doesn't need to get $5 billion from anyone. But this is how they say shit, and they want to look like it's a flex. They don't understand the dumb shit they're saying. Okay? They don't understand it. End of the day, a person like Irv Gotti, who sold a bunch of Murder Inc.'s catalog for, I believe it was $300 million. Irv needed that money, admittedly said he needed that money. A lot of guys, when they sell or they get these advances, this, that, and the third, they need it. Okay, Irv needed that money to advance. He wanted to start doing movies. He wanted to start paying for his own film studio, this, that, and the third, and paying for his own projects because he had to keep going around getting people to pay for it. What they say, oh, you're not supposed to use your own money. Well, he got tired of people telling him no, this, that, and the third. So he sold that stuff. I believe the number was $300 million. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but he sold his shit because he needed the money. Drake don't need to sell off his catalog. This, that. First of all, he don't even own the shit. So let's just start there. So Maul wants him to get a $5 billion loan from UMG, and he still don't own his fucking masters. Maul don't understand this shit, gang. He doesn't understand it. But this is what we're here for. So let me play this clip so we can have this conversation in stupidity. All right. So let me finish reading what I was reading. I went on a tangent, but let me finish. Right. So. Following his highly publicized rap battle with Kendrick Lamar, is that where we were? Maul argued that Drake's status is comparable to LeBron James in his prime, a generational icon whose value has scaled so high that it warrants an astronomical, unprecedented payout. prioritizing Drake over artists. This is the next chapter. Following his highly publicized rap battle with Kendrick Lamar and the release of new music, rumors swirled that Drake had either fulfilled his initial album requirements or could soon become a free agent. Maul theorized that UMG would do everything in their power to make Drake happy to ensure he doesn't leave for another label or go fully independent. Now, they will do everything in their power if they want to keep him, but guess what? He just took him to court. He just cost them money. He gave him a lawsuit that he's still appealing. Why would you want to keep him and then give him $5 billion for what? That's almost admitting guilt. Why would you give him that kind of money? It doesn't make any sense. You already got his catalog. If anything, he gonna crawl back to them because apparently he needs them. Apparently he needs them. At the end of the day, why would he accept anything from them when he said they tried to burn him? Make it make sense. There's other labels out here, Maul. Come on, dog. It ain't making no sense. So you think Sony gonna give him $5 billion? Ain't nobody giving them $5 billion, dog. Let me continue. Maul theorized that UMG would do everything in their power to make Drake happy to ensure he doesn't leave for another label or go fully independent. The blank check theory, this is another chapter. Essentially, Maul believes that to maintain their dominance in the market and keep the biggest streaming asset in the world on their roster, UMG would be willing to offer whatever massive figure it takes to secure his loyalty long term. While Maul's $5 billion figure made waves on social media, it is widely considered an off-the-cuff hyperbolic estimation of Drake's long-term worth rather than a confirmed contractual offer. Now, let me just say this, right? Maul doesn't understand that the stuff that's really, really worth something that's valuable is his old music. Julian Grange already owns that. He doesn't need to he's not worth $5 billion in the future. He's worth $5 billion from what he already made for them, not the new albums that he might drag his feet on for 2 years. So, end of the day, no, Maul, they're not going to give him $5 billion. Guess how many albums Maul, listen, are you thinking this shit through? Guess how many albums he already did for him? For the $400 million. Guess how many albums he did for the shit that he did before that. So imagine how many albums he's gonna owe him. This nigga, he gonna have his kids. They're gonna be like, your kids gotta rap. For $5 billion, everything you do gonna have to go to me at this point. Everything. Maul not thinking this shit through because Maul is dumb. Let me continue. While Maul's $5 billion figure made waves of social media, I already said that. So let's get to this fucking clip, man. I'm gonna play this clip, but I need you guys to understand, take it with a grain of salt. This is a real, true 100% Drake Glazer, for lack of a better word, and he is absolutely delusional.
Yeah, St. Jude. I don't want no flowers. Like, fuck your flowers. That's the mode I'm in. Drake and this Iceman mode, I'm in fuck them flowers. I don't want them flowers. Fuck that.
Okay, is there any truth that you're aware of this private equity move now that he's out of his deal, allegedly?
I don't know nothing about that.
Okay.
I know that whatever he end up getting, he gonna shake the world, nigga. I know that. Everything changes.
Maul is 45, by the way, gang. I just need y'all to know that. Maul is 45. He acts like this guy's the second coming of Christ, and it's really sad to see him this overly overwhelmed by a guy over perceived success because he thinks that his music is good enough to just make him appear to be way bigger than he actually is.
There was no reputable source that was putting this out, but
it's never a reputable source if it didn't come from him.
Allegedly, he is now completely done with his UMG obligations. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's true either.
But I can definitely see a bunch of private equity firms, obviously, wanting to invest in the future career of Drake.
UMG is going to do everything in their powers to make Drake happy and not lose him. If Drake holds up 5 fingers and says that's all he got, that's his negotiation. 5. We know what letter is after the 5. We don't even have to talk about that. Just hold up 5 fingers. And I think Universal says done.
You think Universal would give an artist $5 billion?
I think they will give Drake $5 billion.
$5 billion?
I think they will give Drake $5 billion. Because if they'll give you 2 or 3, what's the difference?
Gang, indeed, what is the difference between $2 billion and $5 billion? It's Drake.
2 or 3.
It's a lot of.
No, it's not. At that level, no, it's not. You give me $3 billion, you can give me $5 billion.
That's not how this works, Maul. That's not how this works, gang. You got dollars, tens, hundreds, thousands, millions. You got to get hundreds of millions before you get to that billion. So you're skipping over a whole lot of millions to get to the next 2 billions, over the 3. First of all, they're not giving them 3. Let's just start there. Then you gotta skip over a whole bunch of millions to get to 4. Then a whole bunch of hundreds of millions to get to 5. It don't work like that. Just give me 2, give me 3. You can tell this nigga ain't never ever understood what $1 billion is.
I don't know how.
You think they don't have it? You think they're like, that's a little stretch?
No, Universal.
How much money do you think Drake has generated for fucking UMG over the years?
That's not how this works. That's not how this works. How much he generated what does that got to do with right now with this negotiation that he's supposed to be having with them? We don't even know if there is even going to be a negotiation. Why would you go back to a place that you're suing, my guy, that you said sabotaged your career? Why would you? I'm about to get off here because end of the day, why would you go somewhere, take $5 billion from a place that try to sabotage you over $400 million?
Over $5 billion.
Exactly. So what are we talking about? We sitting here acting like what I'm saying is crazy.
I know,
because we've never seen one artist get that. I understand that part of it, yes.
I think you're missing what we're saying.
But I think y'all are
we think that Universal has $5 billion.
I don't. I need, okay, hold on.
What?
Wait. No, wait. Okay. I hear y'all, right? But the difference between
this is what he doesn't understand. Corporations don't just hand over money because they got it. Rich people don't just hand you stuff because they have it. Don't work like that. They don't even like paying little shit. They're not going to hand nobody $5 billion, especially an artist about to hit 40. Okay, they're not handing them that.
between 2 and 3 million is completely different than the difference between 1 and 2 billion. Like
2 and 3 million?
Like they're like
2 and 3 billion.
What I'm saying is the difference. So when we hear like, oh, if they could give me 5 million, they could give me 7 million for sure, right? There's not that big of a difference between 5 and 7 million. There is a very big difference between 3 and 5 billion.
The crazy thing is for Damaris to have to say that to a grown man is preposterous. It is absolutely asinine that this grown man has to be told that there's a big difference between $3 and $5 billion.
No, it's not. At that level, if you at that level, at the negotiating table, and they put 3 on the table, they got 5. It's called negotiating.
And then he says it like it's true. Like, yeah, they got 5, but they're not just going to hand it to you because you asked for it. Don't work like that, Mo. How much shit do you hand to somebody just because they asked you for it? Even if it's $7 and you got and they want 10, you got 10. Don't mean you're just gonna give them 10 because you got it. Don't mean you're gonna give them 7 because you got it. Don't work like that, Mo.
What they have and what they'll give.
They got 5. They going in there like, yo, we gonna give them 5, but let's shoot the 3. Your job is to negotiate up to the 5. That's called negotiation. They got it. They got it.
No, I'm not saying. What I'm saying is
They got it. So Maul's negotiation tactics is y'all got it. Give it to me because y'all got it.
just let's not say there's not a big difference. There's a
I'm saying at that level,
humongous.
There's a humongous difference between 100 million and $1 billion. Yes, but if you're offering me 3 billion and I want 5,
gang, listen to. I'm about to get out of here because the more logic is about to set me back. Like my chromosomes and all kind of shit about to go backwards, gang. But Maul just said there's a big difference between 100 million and $1 billion. I get that. Oh, do you, Maul? Do you get that there's a big difference between 100 million and $1 billion? So do you understand if we're at 3 billion, right? Just stay with me, Maul. Just try to lock in for a little bit. If we're at 3 billion, right? And I say, okay, 3 billion plus 100 million, right? You're saying it's a big difference to jump from 100 million to the next billion. So if we're at 3 billion, do you not process that? You just said 100 million to $1 billion is a big leap. So you're trying to leap that twice. You're trying to get from the 3 billion to the 4 billion. You're skipping over the 100 million. You're going to another billion and then another billion. But 100 million, okay, 100 million versus $1 billion, Maul, it's dumb. It's absolutely asinine. You just shot your own case in the foot. You said 100 billion versus $1 billion. That's a big leap. Well, guess what? You just leaped it twice, Mike G. You leaped it twice. You leaped it twice and said it ain't a big deal. Gang, you got to pay attention to what you're saying on these microphones.
We already having $1 billion conversation. Like, what's the difference?
I hear you.
Now, trillion, oh yeah, now we in a whole other ballpark.
Gang, let me just explain to you what just happened with Damaris. Damaris is so tired of fighting a loaf of bread, right? This guy's a loaf of bread. She's sick of fighting a loaf of bread. She'll just put the twisty tie back on and put the bread back on the shelf. She's sick of fight. She said, "I hear you." It was sheer defeat. It was defeat. She's tired of trying to make sense to the loaf of bread. She don't even want to make toast no more. Just put the butter back, put it all back. I'm sick of it. That was the vocal tone of a defeated person who cannot deal with the conversation no more.
But all right, I mean, AI says that UMG is worth $45 billion. So we're not
Worth. Okay? Worth. They're worth, allegedly, according to AI, they're worth $45 billion. Don't mean they just hand out billions. You ain't never heard of an artist getting it before, have you? Them billions didn't just come yesterday. It's take a long time to get a billion. Take a long time to get even more. So end of the day, they're not just going to hand you something because they're worth it. Don't work like that. They even got people they got to answer to. So they can't just hand shit.
we're not saying.
So now I say to you, Damaris, if Drake walks in and you are in danger of losing this artist to go independent and make all of this money, and he wants $5 billion, and you're worth $45 billion.
What Maul don't understand, and I'm about to chop this off, right? What Maul don't understand is if this artist is worth this much money and he's even sitting at a negotiation table with you after everything you've been through, that means he's desperate. If he's worth $5 billion and he's even sitting down with the label that he already sued for defamation, and he sits down with them again, there's a problem. So that means you're negotiating from a level of weakness, a position of weakness, because you should be saying, F y'all, I'm already out. I got one foot out the door. Soon as these albums are dropped and you process the numbers, good luck finding me, because you won't be able to reach me. My numbers change end of the day. So I don't know why this guy would think that they would even sit down with a guy and think that he has the upper hand. The sheer fact of you sitting down means you need us. He shouldn't even sit down with him. It makes no sense.
You don't give him $5 billion?
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a.
No,
I just want the sheer the sheerity numbers of. I just want us to.
At that level, there's no difference. It's just.
All right, so you know what it is? We saw this during the whole battle. When the battle was going on, and they would just get exhausted with arguing with Maul. Damaris knows it's dumb. She knows better. She's smarter than this, and she realizes I can be here all night with this ball of Play-Doh, because every time I stick my thumb in it, it just moves out the way. It doesn't shape itself right. For something's wrong with this ball of Play-Doh. It ain't working. At some point, you just get tired of playing the Play-Doh. You put it back in the jar. You leave it. You put the top on it. You put it on the shelf. I just can't play with that right now. She's so sick of the argument that she's starting to say stupid shit with him. Right? Because she doesn't want him setting. We saw them through the whole battle. Maul is easily triggered. He starts screaming and yelling. So they learned 2 years ago, well, we don't want him doing too much screaming and yelling, pop a blood vessel. End of the day, we're going to give him a little pushback, give him about 2 minutes tops, because after that, he starts to get loud. So at the end of the day, once he starts to sound like he's about to get loud, we just start agreeing with him. He'll calm down, right? He'll start to relax. His muscles will start to relax. All the tension will go away. Just agree with him, no matter how dumb it is. Yep. Okay?
It's just called dragging your nuts. There's no difference. There's no difference at that level between $3 billion and $5 billion. We're already having $1 billion conversation. There's no difference. Now, if you're walking in there with $100 million and somebody come in there with $1 billion, yeah, it's a difference there. But we're already negotiating billions of dollars.
Maul. All right, I think I'm done. There's another minute of this, but I'm not even going to put y'all through it. You see where this is going, right? And Maul is starting to regurgitate and repeat himself, and Damaris is like kind of checking out. She's just agreeing with him. It's going in circles. It doesn't get better. He doesn't get smarter as it goes on. He starts to repeat himself and say, well, if you're talking the difference of hundreds of millions, well, gang, Maul, just for the record, as I get out of here, $100 million equals you got to get 10 of those to get to $1 billion. So the conversation is not just, we're talking billions now. Well, you got to get to hundreds of millions to get to the billion first. So you're making it like, well, the 100 million is small. Well, guess what? The billion is not small. But you got to get there, gang. You got to get there. And it ain't just as soon as we start talking billions, then we could just start doing billions. No, it don't work like that. You don't just start throwing billions because you started at 1. Let's jump to 2. Don't work like that. But Maul doesn't get it. Maul is speaking in barbershop logic where niggas don't really know shit. And they just start making up shit, throwing out numbers and narratives that don't make no sense. In the real world, I'm sure that a lot of the business isn't done by Maul in this situation. A lot of shit is done by people on another level with this, because this shit don't even make no sense even to an everyday layman like myself, okay? End of the day, man, I'm done. Drake ain't getting no $5 billion. He'll be a fool to take it. There'll be a fool to offer it. And Maul is a fool for saying it, all right? CLBMG, man, listen, head on over to black-yeti.com. Let them know who sent you. They ship all over the continental U.S. Every Wednesday night, we go live on the What Show. Me, TJ, and Fliz. Tap in about 9:15, 9:30, all right? And we got a new video called Peanut Butter Tims. That's me, TJ, and Fliz. Lock in. That's off the What Project. I got the Patreon running. Jump over there. We got memberships over there starting as little as $3.99, gang. Listen, I'm out of here. I'm going to catch you on that flip side. Peace.
Look, mission impossible to drop a few lines without dropping old times when Southern Hill was still a gold mine. When pistol grips was my shit and I sold mine. When Alias was not a show and they told mine.
Elevate your mind with high quality THC infused products. BlackYeti.com. Black-Yeti.com.
CLB.
Get my coat, get my sheepskin, grab my wallet, get my pocket knife, and get that hat right there. We out. Grab my pocket knife too. Let's go. When I first came to the city, niggas didn't believe me. I just wanted to join a team and throw assist pass easily. 6 man off the bench, alley-oop pass freely. Suit up for one game and hope a scout might see me. But nah, niggas is greedy, wasn't rocking with him. Unplugged the scoreboard, put a lock on the gym. Told me to power forward, point guard at the rim. And left me with no center and a ball full of phlegm. Not knowing that I'm a dog, a Rottweiler within. With the heart of a pit bull that don't bark for pretend. My bites cut deep, break the bone and the skin. With the level of hustlenomics you do not comprehend. So first I took a block down on the west side end, and then secured a spot with some goons and some kin. And then sent out some flyers, let the games begin. And in 6 months time, the city like that's him. Oh yeah, he the one that moved the hustle to the burbs. And yeah, he the one that knocked the hustlers off the curb. And yeah, he the one that set up shop without a word. And he the one that got it cracking. And all he did was rapping by the Hooters. I kept killers from being shooters. Put a mic in a thug's hand, now he loyal like past fans. Take a man off the streets past the needles and crack cans. Promise mama to keep him safe, then put some food in his face and he'll kill for you. But I don't need him for that. Click like, click share, tell them bitches we back. Share the whole location, tell them niggas where we at. Cause we out here, we ain't the cheese, we the trap.